What's going on today, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today, we're going to be checking out the brand new for 2026 Ibanez Alpha Series. Look at this thing, right? It's crazy. When I first saw this guitar online, I thought to myself, what is that, first of all? And secondly, I need to get my hands on one as soon as possible to check it out for myself and see what it's all about. Now, this guitar was just released for 2026, and it's being marketed as like a shredder's guitar, a modern metal guitarist guitar, and it certainly is. You can tell by all of the kind of futuristic cuts and angles that this thing is just made for metal. Now, before we go into all of the specs and details, I just want to give you guys some of my initial first impressions right out of the box. First things first, the weight. This guitar, when you first pick it up, it's very lightweight, and I would say it's in a similar weight class to most headless guitars. And having tried out the Ibanez Q series, both the 6 and 7 string versions, I can say it kind of weighs about the same. So it's very lightweight and comfortable in that regard. Now, a lot of people are already talking online about, how it looks like models from other manufacturers. Specifically, it looks like the Kaizen and the Kyber, and it does have some similarities, obviously, but I don't think Ibanez was trying to break the mold. I think they were just trying to expand and innovate a little bit within their own lineup and provide guitarists with another option. This is something that other guitarists seem to be veering towards recently, these kind of angular shapes. A lot of people seem to like to play in this more classical position these days, and they realize that, so they want to get their piece of the market share, and it makes sense. So this is their, first foray into this kind of instrument. For that alone, I think, kudos to them. They're giving it a try, and Ibanez, they don't make junk. I think that their marketing team is just really in tune with what's happening, the trends that are current, and they just want to stay relevant. So it makes sense that they do something like this. Now, actually, I'm kind of pleased that this is not a headless guitar because there's enough of those out there already. Like I said, it's very lightweight, it's very comfortable, you can play it in many different positions, and it all works. Let's just talk a little bit about the specs really quickly. First off, this is an American basswood body, which I think is that's what lends it to being so lightweight. The neck is a 5-piece neck consisting of maple and walnut. The fretboard is ebony, and the color on this fretboard is very black, very dark, and consistent all the way across, which is a nice, that's a good QC feature for me, especially if you're paying what you pay for this guitar, which is this guitar currently retails in the US for $1,900. So for that amount of money, you expect the guitar to be perfect, basically. Flawless in its looks, fit, form, function. Everything should just be perfect all the way through. And they make sure of that. Ibanez, I think, this is just speculation, but I think Ibanez makes a point to use the best craftsmen at these locations, or whatever the best facility is that's on site that does the highest level of quality. I think that's what Ibanez is using. Now, it's got real mother of pearl inlay dots, offset inlays on the fretboard, and they're small, so they're kind of subdued, but they still look classy, so I like that look. Now, there are a lot of features and components on this guitar that are pretty typical and pretty much expected these days on a really good modern metal guitar, specifically lumen lace side dots, Goto locking tuners, and of course the Fishman Fluence pickups. Now, as far as Fishmans go, I'm kind of over it at this point. I mean, they're not my favorite pickups, but I do understand why people like them. So you know what they sound like. So it's kind of like, if it's not broken, why fix it? And they did provide the three-way voicing, which is nice. So you get the three different voicings as opposed to just the two. You know, whenever I get something new in my hands like this, I kind of get inspired to write differently or just to write something different. Now we need to talk about this neck for a minute. This neck is something that's new for Ibanez. This is a parallel wizard neck, which that part isn't new. The parallel meaning that the front and the back stay the same thickness. They're just parallel to one another all the way through. I think they classify this as a 19 millimeter thickness. But one other feature about this neck, which is very interesting, is that it's an asymmetrical neck. So on the base side of the strings, the neck is a little bit thicker, and then it kind of tapers off toward the high end, which kind of helps facilitate the thumb getting underneath for the more classical playing position when you want to do your arpeggios and shredding stuff. It lends itself more to that kind of a hand position. So if you're somebody who like just wants to do the John Mayer stuff, the thumb over the top and the blues type of stuff, this isn't the neck for you. Certainly not. It does feel different. I mean, when you first pick it up, you immediately feel that neck. You can feel that offset feel to it, that asymmetry. But it's not uncomfortable, which is really weird. I was expecting to not like it too much. And after you play it for a little while, you just forget it's even there. You forget that the shape is doing what it's doing. The best way for me to explain the neck is think of a modern D-shaped neck, which is rather thin, right? Just your typical wizard neck with a little bit of a flat spot, you know, toward the middle. The only difference is that D shape is kind of just tilted a little bit. So it's kind of angled in toward the bottom end. So the bottom end essentially is a little bit, I guess, sharper, if you want to call it that. Whereas the base side is just more of a rounded shoulder. Again, it's very comfortable. So it's not something that would, I think, bother most people. But you do notice it. You do feel it. The fretwork on this guitar is what I would expect from any Ibanez. It is basically perfect. I feel no sharp edges at all. It's very comfortable. What Ibanez seems to do with most of their fretwork, which I've noticed, is that they don't file the angle too sharply on the ends of the frets so that the strings have a tendency to kind of slip off the frets easily, which is nice because on some other guitars, that does happen more frequently and it's kind of annoying. So they keep it a steeper angle as far as the filing goes, but yet it's still rounded off and smooth all the way around on the end. So it's just very comfortable fretwork. It's really nicely done. Now, this guitar is made in Indonesia, and people are losing their shit online about made in Indonesia. I don't know why, and these comments make no sense to me. People just say stuff like, you know, made in Indonesia, it's terrible, it's not good quality. I mentioned this in another video recently for another manufacturer regarding made in Indonesian guitars. Now, in Indonesia, within the same location, there are different manufacturing facilities on site. And they're all working at different quality levels depending on what the brands want to pay for the specific units. So when it comes to Ibanez, I think that they're always using kind of the top tier as far as the craftsmanship, as far as the artisans are concerned, the luthiers, whatever you want to call them. The people working to make the guitars in Indonesia. I've never personally had any issues with an Ibanez guitar made in Indonesia, and certainly not with the Japanese ones either. This guitar is no different. It appears to be, in most senses of the word, you know, aesthetically anyways, perfectly built. Fit and finish is 100%. This thing just looks great. There's nothing, no flaws, nothing. Now, there are a few little, you know, if I have to nitpick about it, there's a few little things that kind of bother me. It's just a personal thing. First off, the Fishman Fluence pickups, I'm just, like I said, I'm just over it, man. They're not my favorite sound. I don't care for them. I really don't know why so many manufacturers are using this as like the default pickup. Just, you know, there's so many brands out there. I personally don't even care for active pickups, generally speaking. you know, you got to have the battery and you got to, I don't know. It's just too much for me to want to deal with. I just want to plug and play. I don't want to worry about the batteries getting low. I forgot to put the battery in. I forgot to take the battery out. I don't want to think about all that. It's just kind of nonsense. And for me, I get good tones with my passive pickup. So I don't need actives. That's just me. Don't hate. Don't at me, bro. Next up, I would say this asymmetrical neck. Now, while I said it is comfortable, it is very smooth, well sanded. It looks great. I just don't have a need for it. It doesn't concern me to have it angled like that because, you know, I know how to position my hand properly when I want to do stretchy stuff or, you know, my sweeps or whatever I'm doing. I just don't need that. So knowing that it's under my hands or under my thumb all the time, just thinking about it, it's like subconsciously in the background, it's like, okay, it's an odd shaped neck. It's an odd shaped neck. I just don't want to think about it. So if Ibanez were to offer a variant of this that didn't have that neck, it was just your typical wizard neck, I'd probably enjoy that even more. The neck width, for some reason, Ibanez 7-string necks, to me, feel a little bit wider than other brands. I should actually do a measurement to kind of see the difference, and maybe I'll throw some measurements up on screen. But yeah, the 7 strings always feel a little bit wider. I feel like the string spacing is a little bit wider, like there's just larger gaps in between. If that's the case, if that's intentional, it's probably so that you make sure you have enough clarity and enough clearance to get your, you know, finger pads on each string. But I've never needed that because I've got smaller hands anyways. So it's like, for me, it's just more of a stretch. It's just more wood to deal with. I don't need it. I know that like Jackson, for instance, they usually do a much narrower nut on their 7-string guitars than most other brands. And I find that just to be a little more comfortable, whatever. Again, it's just a personal thing. It's not a big deal, but I kind of, if you want to keep it slim and sleek and small and easier to maneuver, I would keep it on the narrower side. Next up is this odd looking heel joint. It's just really weird. It's got this metal plate here, which that's fine, but then it's got 2 large screws and then 2 smaller screws on the outside, and then it's got 1 random black screw underneath. So just like, it's not very cohesive. Just the overall aesthetics of it just looks a little, you know, I don't know, mishmash put together, just kind of thrown together. Like, oh, we need a plate, now we need screws. Well, no, we ran out of this size. I don't know. It's kind of weird to me. And also, I don't like the fact that there isn't like a comfort curve to the heel itself like Ibanez generally does on all of their modern guitars, especially their RGs and gems. I feel like they could have done that here. So I kind of feel like they sort of missed the mark, but maybe they're going for something that I don't really understand. The heel doesn't get in the way, certainly not at all, but it just looks weird. I don't know. It's not my favorite look. So maybe they'll redesign that. Maybe they won't. Maybe they'll never see this video and who cares? Yeah, but overall, I do like the guitar otherwise. Just those little features, you know, they're not my favorites. I can get along with them okay. But, you know, if it were up to me to design a guitar and build it, I would kind of veer away from those things. So just little nitpicky stuff. And like I said, it's just personal stuff. It's no digs at Ibanez. They always make nice instruments. Personally, for myself, and I've played dozens of Ibanez guitars, I've never had a problem with one, ever. Like there's no quality issues, there's no fret sprout, there's no, you know, wonky, the neck was placed in the pocket wrong. It just always works. It's always right. So for me, Ibanez is just a tried and true guitar brand, which is one of the reasons why I love them. Not to mention, you know, Steve Vai. That's the reason I picked up a guitar. Steve Vai, Ibanez, you know, that's home for me. So I love Ibanez. Even something that's a little divisive, like this kind of new guitar, this new shape. Some people out there, you might love it. Other people might hate it and just kind of disregard it as, you know, a kind of another one-off, you know, just another variant of stuff you've already seen out there. You know, I think Ibanez deserves some respect for trying to reach a larger audience, I should say. I think they just want to make sure that they're kind of giving enough options out there so they can kind of hit all segments of the market. And why wouldn't they? Why wouldn't you, right? If you're trying to make money, you want to have enough offerings for anybody out there so they're going to be like, okay, I'm the modern metal guy. I'm the young kid coming up. I need something modern, you know, that speaks to me. And this definitely would for some people. Now, this new guitar does solve one issue that's kind of been reoccurring with other brands, specifically the headless guitars and other manufacturers that make guitars that kind of have this shape to it so you can kind of seat it in a classical position. That's the fact that it doesn't have the output jack down here on the side where the cord would be jabbing into your leg, because nobody wants that. They solve that by putting the output jack back here on the back side of the guitar on an angle. So essentially, the cord sticks out like this. Here, I can just show you. Demonstration time, guys. The chord goes like that. If you can see that. So no matter what position you're playing in, whether it's, typical right leg, which is what I do, classical position, it's still out of the way, or even just all the way left leg. It's not harming you. It's just completely out of the way. It's not a problem at all. And that makes total sense because the cord comes up right by the strap button. So if you want to, weave it through your strap and then have it hang down, it works. It makes sense. So they solve that problem. I don't see too many other manufacturers trying to reach for fixes to problems. They just keep pushing out the same stuff, even if people don't care for it. So Ibanez is listening. They're making a point to kind of let people know, hey, we've got something that's like the others, but a little bit better. So I think that's what you have with this guitar. But I'm interested to hear what you guys might have to say about this thing. It's new, right? And when things are new, we don't always understand them. We don't always like them. Or some people just gravitate toward new. It's different. It's functional. It does what it's supposed to do. And it's made for the modern, metal musician. So if this is something that you would like or something that you really would not like, let me know in the comments what you guys think about this. Meanwhile, I'm still working on some new music with this guitar. I'm writing a new track for Monday Metal Mayhem. So that'll be coming out next Monday. So look for that. So that's pretty much it for today, guys. I really do appreciate you guys sticking around to the end of the video. Thanks so much for watching. And until next time, I'm out of here. See ya.